I'm Tisha Bader. Thank you for joining me. Since the October 7th Hamas massacre and the explosion of anti-Israel and anti-Jewish hate that followed, advocacy has become a crucial and powerful tool to counter the hate, to dispel the falsehoods with truth, to dialogue, and to show our support and solidarity with the people of Israel and unite as a Jewish people. Well, one of the individuals who is truly utilizing their platform to do just that in an incredibly impactful way is Montana Tucker. Montana is an award-winning singer, songwriter, dancer, actress, social media star, and philanthropist. And she has performed with top music industry artists and celebrities. And she is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to using her voice, her talent, her platform to speak out. Speak out against antisemitism, speak out for Israel, speak out for the hostages and for the Jewish people as a whole. And it is truly such a privilege to have her here on JBS. Montana, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I know you're speaking to us from Chicago, where you're
Yes.
going to be talking at an event this evening, and you've been busy doing that all over the U.S. I want to just go back a few years. You had been posting mainly light, fun content, dance videos, doing incredibly well on social media. And I believe it was beginning of 2023, you decided to post something very different to educate people about the Holocaust. How did that come about, and why did you choose to do that?
Yes. So I grew up with Holocaust survivor grandparents, and my Zadie and my grandma are both survivors of the Holocaust. I'm sorry. And I grew up hearing their stories my whole life. My Zadie specifically wore pins every day that said, "I'm a survivor, never forget, and never again." And both of my grandparents would speak at all the schools down in Florida where I grew up. And so I always heard about the Holocaust, heard their personal stories. And when my Zadie unfortunately passed away 5 years ago at age 97, I rewatched the Shoah Foundation testimonies from both my grandparents. And even though I saw them before, rewatching them as an adult, and especially after my Zadie passed, I felt it completely differently. And I was like, I need to do something with these stories. I need to do something. And I wasn't sure what yet. And my mom and I, we were like, you know what, we're going to just go to Poland and go to the camps and do it on our own. And then we said, you know what, we have the opportunity to reach millions of people and educate millions of people who don't even know about the Holocaust. We know in the US, Holocaust education isn't forced to being taught in every state. Maybe that'll change soon. But right now, Holocaust education, every state doesn't have to teach about the Holocaust, and then especially around the world. So I said, you know what? I have millions of followers that could potentially learn about the Holocaust and be educated. We have to create something with this. So we created a 10-part docuseries called How to Never Forget, which can be found on my YouTube channel. And each episode is only a minute and a half to 2.5 minutes. We made it for the younger generation to be able to digest easily, share with their friends easily. And that series, before posting it, I was like, you know what, this is probably not going to do well. People follow me to see me dance in the middle of the streets of Hollywood Boulevard and collaborate with Terry Crews and Paula Abdul and Lance Bass from NSYNC. Like, no one's following me to learn about the Holocaust or see me cry or see me do something that's so serious. But I'm like, if I impact one person, great. And then the series ended up really taking off in a really amazing way. And it really made a huge impact. And that was, of course, long before October 7th. So this has always been a huge, important part of my life. And I'm so grateful that I built my platforms on music and dancing and acting. And I'm still doing that. But this is really my passion, is to combat anti-Semitism and all forms of hate and to share the truth. So. Mhm.
Yeah, it's so moving what you did, your visit with your mother to Auschwitz and other camps. It really is a truly beautiful thing. And unfortunately, I know you also got some hate for it as well.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. I grew up in Boca Raton, Florida, so I didn't really ever experience anti-Semitism as a child because Boca Raton, Florida is a predominantly Jewish area. So I never really experienced anti-Semitism. When I got in the entertainment industry and started, of course, being, more, seen in different communities, people would say, Montana Tucker, and you look like that. There's no way you're Jewish. And I find that to be anti-Semitic because being Jewish looks like so many different look so many different ways and sound so many different ways. But people, of course, have this like stigma of what they think somebody who's Jewish should look like or sound like. But then, of course, when I posted my Holocaust series, of course, people were like, "You Jew, of course, you're making everything about yourself," or denying. People were actually denying the Holocaust in my comments, even though I was physically there, or saying, your grandparents should have died, and we're not going to stop until you die. But nothing compares to the hate that I have received from talking about Israel. I mean, it's on a whole different level, and the hate that I've received since October 7th is just like nothing I've ever experienced before.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you more about that because, again, just getting hate from the Holocaust videos is like, this has nothing to do with Israel, with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is about being a Jew, period.
Yeah.
And
I
you were
think
seeing this, right? And
I
then it just exploded.
I think at the time also when I released the series, it wasn't as popular to be anti-Semitic, and just and to promote Jew hatred as it is now. I think the anti-Semitism has always equally been there, to be honest. I don't think that it's necessarily grown more. I think it's just now so popular and so socially acceptable to be anti-Semitic and to be hateful, and it's now a trend. It wasn't necessarily a trend then, even though I think people were just as anti-Semitic. It just they were hiding it a bit more, and now it's a little bit more popular. Or a lot of these people who are anti-Semitic probably don't even know what they're saying; they're just following along with the trend, unfortunately.
Let's talk about October the 7th, because I know obviously we're all still in trauma. We are still processing what happened, the shock and horror of what happened.
Yep.
Where were you and how did that sort of translate into the steps you were to take next?
Yeah, so I was in Los Angeles at the time, and I I say this a lot, like, I don't know if it's necessarily generational trauma or what, because of course, most Jews felt this as deeply as I did. But something just completely took over me. And when I found out, I felt guilty even looking outside of my window, enjoying the view. I felt guilty just sitting and not doing anything and not being able to do anything. I felt helpless. And that's kind of when I decided to take over my social media completely, and I missed out on brand deals that I was supposed to do. I said I couldn't post anything else for a few weeks on my page. And again, at the time, if you look back, I was doing all kinds of fun brand deals, but I couldn't, I felt guilty doing that. I couldn't do anything besides talk about Israel and post about Israel. I wanted to get to Israel right away, actually. And I didn't leave my place for about a week and a half until we did a rally in Los Angeles with Floyd Mayweather, actually. And it was this really beautiful rally for Israel. And Floyd has actually taken such an amazing stance and has stood with Israel. He's been to Israel several times since October 7th. He sent his plane and donated all kinds of money. He's been really incredible. And so we did a rally together, and that was my first time ever even attending a rally. And I attended that rally, and I was like, wow, there are so many other people who are feeling exactly how I'm feeling. And there was no violence. It was all uplifting, and everyone was, even though people were crying, they were crying together. They were united together, and everyone was there. And I was like, wow, like, okay, I'm not alone in this. And then I really just, it took over my life in a way that I never expected. But I knew that, my grandparents, during the Holocaust, unfortunately, they had no voice. It didn't matter how rich you were, how famous you were, how successful you were. If social media was around back then, it wouldn't have mattered how many followers you had. Like, if you were Jewish, you were put on that list. And I know now Jews have a voice. We're able to do something. We're able to say something. And if I have the opportunity to educate 14 million people about what is going on and share the truth, I had to do it. So I actually went to Israel back December 2023. And I went back, and I right away went to all the sites, and I met with survivors and hostage families. And then now I've been back to Israel 5 times since October 7th.
Wow.
And I've met with all of the released hostages, hostage families, current families, all the Nova survivors. I made a huge video at the Nova site with Nova survivors, a dance video. I just created a documentary called The Children of October 7th, where I interviewed children from ages 11 to 17 that either were taken hostage, or their parents are still hostage, or Hamas killed their parents right in front of them. It's a very powerful documentary that will be out soon on a streamer. So I'm excited for that, because I'm excited for the world to really see the truth and hear these testimonies from these children. So.
Yeah, you've done so much. I can't even keep up with you. Just listed so many things that are each and every one of those decisions that you made and steps that you took and family that you met with. is so significant and so inspiring to all of us. So thank you for that, first and foremost. And I know the documentary, I had a screening at the end of December, and we're looking forward to seeing it in a wide release. That's wonderful. I can only imagine the toll that it's also taken on you personally to interact in such a personal way with people who have been through absolute hell.
It's crazy because I do feel like all these people are my family now. And I feel so deeply attached to all of them. And for instance, Keith Siegel, when he was just released, like I've built such a close relationship with his wife and his daughter. And it's just like, okay, I'm fighting hard, but these families literally have fought so hard every day, have not slept, have traveled to so many different countries, have spoken to anyone that would speak to them. They have I mean, of course it's their family, but they have just gone above and beyond to try to do this, and to see them finally reunite with their father, with their husband. I can't even like express how that felt. When Nama Levy was released, I also know her parents, and I've done so many videos dedicated to her. And like it's crazy to me when they're released. Noah Argamani, I posted so much about her before she was released, and now I'm friends with her. I was just with her in Miami, and to hear her stories, every time I'm with her, I hear something new, and she's just so amazing. I mean, what these people have gone through, and then to still have this hope and want peace and want just still, they all are still fighting every day for the release of every single hostage. None of them can fully heal and can fully move on with their lives until all the hostages are released, whether they know them or not. It's just amazing how everyone has become such a big family, and no one will rest, even if they're home. None of them are resting until the rest of the hostages are home. That's it.
That's right. No,
And
that's right.
so it's really amazing. And so yes, it's so personal for me because I have built these relationships, but they're the ones that keep me going. People always say like, how do you keep going? Like, aren't you so tired? I'm like, if these people can do it every day after all they've been through, I have no excuse. Or the IDF. The IDF is literally risking their lives every day on the front lines. I have no excuse to not be able to be on social media, risking mine online. Even the Grammys passed the other day, and last year at the Grammys, I wore this dress that said "Bring them home," which caused a lot of controversy, and it was this whole thing. But I got messages from the hostage families right after I wore the dress saying, thank you for wearing this. Finally, we feel seen. So all these moments that are considered risks, or I might lose business opportunities or whatever it is, I know that I'm doing the right thing, and I know that it does make a difference. And so that's why I keep going.
100%. And I wanted, the hostage families, as you mentioned, are, as you said, they're just superheroes. Their resilience, their strength, getting up every single day and going on and rallying and being there for their family and their loved ones is just beyond.
Yeah.
And I know, and you've met them, which is incredible. And I do feel like most of us feel like we are connected to them.
Yeah.
Watching their releases, watching them embrace their family. Like I've watched those videos a million times and just crying. And I think we all feel that because
Yep.
these are our brothers and sisters, and this has
Exactly.
really hammered it home.
Well, I think that's the thing about the Jewish people is that, like, I feel like in times like this, we kind of always come together. And, we are such a small population in the world. So that's why they say Jewish geography, everyone somehow knows everyone and is somehow connected. And it's true. I mean, it's like, what has happened to our people from the beginning of time, from the beginning of Jews being on this earth. People always try to wipe Jews off of the face of earth, but we always come out. I say this a lot in all my speeches. I feel like we always come out stronger on the other side, and we always come out more united on the other side. And I believe that is what is happening, and is what is going to continue to happen. That with all this terrible tragedy that has happened, I've seen it, the Jewish community around the world that I've gone to speak to come together in ways that I've never seen in my life. And I hope that we just continue coming together.
Absolutely. I have to get back to the Grammys last year for a second because that dress was just beyond. And it was so like it. I think, like you said, the hostage families thanked you. That's it. Like, that's your success right there, right? You don't need anything more than them saying, thank you. We saw it. It meant something to us. But all of us saw it. And all of us were like, again, felt seen. Like you said, for a moment, we were like, yes. And, you're dealing with other people in Hollywood wearing Gaza pins or what
Yeah.
have you. And here you are not even just wearing a little yellow pin like we all wear, but it was huge. It was very clear
Well,
what you
yeah.
were there to say, right? There was no missing that message. So I'm just wondering what it was like to walk into that room, and if there were people who gave you a hard time, um, and or the opposite, if you were greeted positively.
Well, yeah. So I have been a part of like all these different group chats of people trying to get people to wear their yellow pins to the previous award shows before the Grammys, and like no one would wear them, and everyone was having such a hard time. So when I was invited to go to the Grammys as a musician, as an artist, that's like the biggest deal for me as an artist, and you're in a room full of the biggest artists in the world and people that you look up to and admire. And I knew no one was going to do something, and so I knew if I had the opportunity, I didn't want to just wear a little yellow pin because that's like showing your support without having to make a whole big, scene
And it's
about it.
still
But
something.
and
It's
it's
still
something. No,
something,
no, it
right?
is
And
so
most
important.
people,
It
yeah,
is like every time I watch the news and I see anyone wearing it, I'm like, thank you. Like
exactly.
it's something so small. It doesn't take any effort to do. But I wanted to make sure no one could miss my message, moral of the story. And so I contacted an Israeli designer that lives in Los Angeles, and I gave her like less than a week to create this dress. But I wanted an all Israeli glam team. So my glam team was Israeli, my dress is Israeli. I wanted to really, really represent in every way, shape, and form. And we created this dress, and I never get nervous. I've spoken in front of hundreds of thousands of people, but when I walked into onto the carpet, I definitely was nervous because then it's like it's real and I'm by myself out there and there's no, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
nothing I could do. And so it was pretty crazy. And after I finished, one of the like handlers for the Grammys came up to me and she's like trying to rush me off the carpet. And she's like, all right, did you get all your, like, did you take your photos? Did you do everything? And I'm like, I just got here. You took my purse. And she said, okay, well, the comms department from the Recording Academy, they're very disappointed in your dress. And they said it's too political and we don't do
Wow.
politics at the Grammys. And I go, that's interesting. I go, are you aware of what this ribbon stands for? It's actually not political at all. And then I think the girl was just doing, what she was told. And she's like, okay, well, is it possible for you to remove the ribbon? And I said, no, it's not possible. And she said, okay, well, you can go back out there, but unfortunately, the Recording Academy is not going to be able to like share any of your content that you take tonight. So I was obviously a little stressed, and so I go back out there, and then the head of the Recording Academy, Harvey Mason Jr., who is incredible, he comes up to me and he goes, wow, I love your dress. Thank you for wearing that. Can we take a photo? And then he ended up giving a great speech that night. He had an Israeli and Palestinian orchestra play together, and he spoke about Nova, and it was really incredible. And it's interesting. I usually take like behind the scenes photos of my, me getting ready or anything. I didn't post one thing on my Instagram yet, and I wasn't really on my phone because I was so flustered with everything going on. I sat down in my seat. I checked my phone, and my phone's like blowing up. It's the dress is posted everywhere and everyone's like freaking out over it. And I just like, I really did not know what was going to happen. But like I said before, the most important messages I received were from hostage families just thanking me. Even like the released hostages that I've now like built relationships with that didn't get to see the dress when I wore it because they were in captivity. And when they saw it afterwards, like they thanked me for it. So those are the moments that mean the most. And also to have little girls dressed up as me in my dress for Purim
Wow.
last year, which was so unreal to me. Like, I mean, that is something that you could never, ever imagine. And to have little girls literally create costumes to dress up like me with the Bring Them Home ribbon is just so special. So it really has made an impact. That's why, these little things, you never know what kind of impact you can make from them. And that's why with me on social media, I try every day to be sharing something and posting something that you never know whose phone that's going to come across or whose algorithm they're going to come across this video that might have no clue about the conflict, or they might have never even met a Jewish person before. And then they're going to learn, and they're going to learn something new, and they're going to be educated. So
That's really a beautiful thing. Have you had conversations with other Jewish artists or not regarding like why aren't more people wearing the pin? Why is it such a huge thing? And there were some like last year, Golden Globe, we saw some, but it's
everyone's just scared. Everyone's scared of the controversy and the backlash it comes with. I mean, for me, I lost hundreds of thousands of followers. I lost pretty much all my brand deals. The only brand deals I get now are only ones that specifically reach out and say, we love your activism. Thank you for what you're doing. Like there's been no just like normal brand deal like I used to get all the time. And death threats every single day. It's real, unfortunately.
I'm
So
so sorry.
people just don't want to deal with that. And for me, that actually just fuels me even more. It shows me even more why I have to do this, because I know for a fact all I care about is unity and humanity. And if you really look at the messaging in all my videos, it's always about bringing people together of all walks of life. Way before October 7th, way before my series, I've always done videos of people of all races, all ethnicities, all sexual orientations. It's always been my purpose to unite people and bring people together and stand for humanity. And I've always stood for causes, even if they don't have to do with Judaism or Israel. I've always posted and shared anything that I believe in. So if people that have followed me for a while, they will know that. And if you look it up, you'll see that. So that's why I know that I think if you have influence and if you have followers and you're not using it for what you believe in, what's the point? But unfortunately, people are scared. I've had a lot of very big people come up to me and say, thank you for what you're doing. You're taking one for the team. And we just, we posted a little in the beginning. We just got too much hate for it. So we can't deal with it. And it's unfortunately, it's a real thing, but yeah.
Before I let you go, I want to share a video you did recently. You've done many videos where you're again opening a dialogue, which is so important, so critical to say, ask me a question, or what do you think, or let me help you with some facts or misconceptions.
Yeah.
You recorded something for International Holocaust Remembrance Day in Santa Monica with a former neo-Nazi,
Yeah.
which not just with someone who maybe doesn't know about the Holocaust, but this was somebody who was really on the extreme other side of things. What was that like? What kind of interactions did you have with people? Was there something in particular that really stood out from making that video?
Doing these videos in public, they are so important. They're honestly my favorite videos to do because not only does it make a great video that goes viral and gets seen by millions of people, which is incredible, but the conversations we end up having in person are even beyond that. We're there sometimes for 3 hours interviewing people, and we edit it together for a 3-minute video. So not everything makes, the social media cut, but we have really meaningful conversations with these people. And I met Arno at an event, and I was just blown away with his story. And like, he doesn't have a social media following like at all, but I was just blown away with his story. And I was like, we have to do something together, being the grandchild of Holocaust survivors, and you being someone who literally denied the Holocaust, who hated Jews, who had so much just hate in your heart, and literally had a swastika tattooed on your body. I think for people to see us standing together and to see how it is possible to change your mindset. And I just think his story is incredible. I was like, would you want to do this video? So he actually flew to California. I had this idea for this video on a Friday. We filmed the video on a Sunday and we released it on Monday. So it happened so fast, and we did it in collaboration with Combat Antisemitism Movement, which is an incredible organization that I work with all the time. Most of my trips to Israel have been with them, and they always help me with all my crazy ideas that I have. They always help me make them come to life. And so we did this video, and in person, I mean, people were shocked. He's holding up a sign with a swastika that said, I'm a former neo-Nazi. That takes a lot. Like, even for him, he was even saying like, it was emotional for him to hold it up because he has not held anything with that swastika in a very long time. And so for him, it was even really powerful and emotional for him to be there on the other end, of it. And these conversations with people like truly wanting to learn, Jewish, not Jewish, people from all around the world, like all different types of people came up to us and had conversations with us, and people were really like inspired by us doing this together and seeing us united together. And there really were people from all over, because we did it at Santa Monica Pier where a lot of tourists go. So yeah. I think it's important to get people from all around the world. And they were really, really inspired by this video and just really wanting this education out there. And he shared his story about how he had a Jewish boss, and he was literally a skinhead, and he had a Jewish boss that, no matter how much he did terrible things, just, was nice to him and gave him a job. And he said that was one of the reasons why he changed his whole perspective on Jews. And he's like really grateful for this man who was a part of changing his perspective and his life. And he said something that a lot of people have commented on the video, that hate is an addiction. And he feels that he was at the time just addicted to hate. And I think that's something that's also going on in our society now. People are just kind of addicted to hate. They don't even know what they're really hating. They're just addicted to that mindset of being so negative and hateful. So if you read through the comments on that video, so many people were really inspired by it that aren't Jewish, that aren't necessarily pro-Israeli. And it really made a big impact.
Well, Montana, you are truly an inspiration. I mean that. as I said earlier, we all feel connected as one family. And when we can see what we all feel, when we can see it in front of us and see what you're doing and that you're meeting the hostage families and embracing them and doing so much for them. And as you mentioned, we're seeing the releases now. May we see them all home very soon until the
Yes,
last
amen.
hostage. Amen.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank you for
Thank you so
doing
much.
what you're doing. It is hugely meaningful,
Thank you.
and we deeply appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you for doing this interview. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you so much,
Thank
Montana
you.
Tucker.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Am Yisrael Chai.
I'm Israel Chai.